Okay, now I think I've got this working right. Let me look down on the laptop here. Okay, it says upcoming event. It shouldn't be upcoming. It should be more like actual event. We're talking about movies. And I will, it's more of an ask me anything, but we wanted to be on the subject of movies. We've got fireworks still going, 4th of July on the 5th, whatever. Yeah, I think the audio sounds decent. So do I need to get a little closer or what? I think I could probably move this thing a little closer to me and then that should suffice. All right, so if anybody wants to ask me whatever, feel free. We don't have to do the super chats over here. Let's see. And somebody type a message, or do I need to do that? And then I can see if it is working right. Doesn't need to be a top comment. It can just be, let's see, it goes, I'm just going to go all messages. Sure. Now, where is it going to let me type? Show chat. Here we go. What am I going to say? Oh, okay, good. You're over with the fans. Relax. You're over with the fans. Like in WWE terms, over. I've had a little bit of vision trouble lately, so I'm kind of having a tough time reading that. And maybe it doesn't help that I have this light shining in my face too. That probably doesn't really aid in circumstances. We'll toss this off to the side over here. Came a little bit more prepared than last time. And by little, I do mean very little, but I do have I've got a mic stand sitting over here with a drink. Over like Hogan. I don't really seem all that over. It doesn't feel like it. Of course, like my whole shtick only works if I'm not successful. So if you guys want to talk about whatever, I've watched a number of movies that just left Netflix at the beginning of July that were from 1984. It was really weird. For the longest time, I've complained about Netflix having a complete lack of like 70s, 80s, 90s movies. And they kind of just fill things up with whatever recent schlock they could. And I watched a lot of stuff from 1984, and I'm not necessarily going to get to doing videos on. I watched 2010, the year we make contact, which was look. There are really great 80s movies, but there's a lot of them where we thought they belong with the others and they don't. And boy, the effects in this are not nearly as impressive as 2001: A Space Odyssey. And that's probably because you got more space. It's like, hey, let's get people out walking around doing this rope bit, trying to chain between one spacecraft to the other, and it looks like trash. And I started watching, and I watched most of, this thing that's got James Woods and Jeff Bridges and this stacked chick, but she has the hair of a grandma, and it was called something. I'm thinking of All the Right Moves, but that's not. It's like In All the Way. It had like some sexy thriller. Against All Odds. That's what it was. It's like Against All Odds sounds like a medical comedy. Hey, Matt is here. Well, if you're Matt, that's a weird way to announce that. So this movie, Against All Odds. Oh, hey, I want you to go find my girlfriend who took my money. By the way, she's stacked, and you're probably going to hook up with her and turn against me. Like, it was dumb, and I got bored. And at some point, they opened a nightclub, and all the girls had unshaved armpits, so I kind of checked out. Other stuff from 1984. I watched Firstborn. All this stuff just left Netflix. Firstborn, which was hilarious because you got this kid I don't recognize, but I think he was in some movie. No, he was in Sleepaway Camp. And he's like the least famous person in the movie. Everywhere else you turn, he goes to school. The cool guy who just got his ears pierced is Robert Downey Jr. The girl sitting next to him is Sarah Jessica Parker. His little brother is Corey Haim, and I noticed that he sometimes shut his mouth. And Corey Haim in everything else. So I thought that was unique. His mom, Terry Garr from Young Frankenstein. Mom's new boyfriend is freaking RoboCop, and this is from 1984, so he's more like Buckaroo Banzai. But it was a weird ass movie because it seemed like it was taking itself really seriously. It had remarkably realistic dialogue, and the acting was fine for like the first half. And then I was like, this has got to turn, right? Like, and then it kind of becomes 80s movie in a way. It wasn't a drama anymore. It became the kid's got to find out what his stepdad's up to, and there's going to be a bike chase, and he's got to. It turns out he's taking drugs, and mom's getting high, and so he's going to take the drugs. He's going to hide them. Yeah, and it's like it kind of devolved. There had to be something else from '84 that I was watching, but I can't remember what it might have been. Let's see, I was watching The Firstborn, and then I think I was looking at going with Firestarter, but then right when I finished Firstborn, it was gone. So I think Netflix actually removes things just like they add them at 2 a.m. in the morning, which means this was a first because they actually let me finish watching the movie. I previously marathoned the Jaws films. This was a few years back. It might have been before lockdown. I can't remember, but they cut me off with like 5 minutes left in Jaws 4, Jaws the Revenge. So I didn't find out if the version they had on Netflix was Mario Van Peebles Lives or Mario Van Peebles Dies. It got right before that, but it's stupid because the shark was roaring at people. And that is, as famous as the Jaws movies are, isn't it kind of remarkable we're not rebooting that? Like, we're not getting more Jaws? Is that not weird to anybody? Kind of seems like we'd be on like our fifth Jaws reboot by now, but hey, I guess we're not. All right, Teddy says 84 is good movies, but 1904 movies are way shorter and kind of the first wave. Yes, 1904 has a lot of film. I'll have to look at that. 1904. What's in that? I mean, we're talking, you don't really get a narrative, like the feature narrative as we have today until the birth of a nation, really. And was that like 1914 or something? I think it was a little after that. But yeah, there are actually some really cool old silent films that have like Pepper's Ghost effects, and you've seen A Trip to the Moon, and yeah, like this stuff kind of works. I think one of the best silent films, though it kind of cheats in a way, is The General with Buster Keaton, because it kind of comes out when talkies could be a thing, and it's like, no, let's have a last hurrah for the silent film, and they have like a real expensive stunt with a train, and it's just real cute film. But also, as far as the silent films go, Metropolis, and I'm not going to say, oh, hey, you got to see this newly restored because they found they found the real in Brazil, and it's the most complete. And all. Okay, that's great and all. The one you want to see is the Giorgio Moroder produced Metropolis, and by mentioning his name, he'll probably drop dead because that's what I do. But the Giorgio Moroder produced Metropolis, it has some cool music, but the lyrics are whack. Like, you got some good names on here to sing the stuff, but the lyrics are so on the nose to what's happening on the scene. It'll be like, we're working, it's tough, we go to work. And so it's kind of funny. But the cool thing about this version is that, and it's from 1984, it's slightly colorized, it's in hues, but also Buster Brown was kids' shoes. I said 1904 movies is Buster Brown. What are we saying here? I was talking about Buster Keaton, one of Kansas, proud son of Kansas here. They keep rebooting the Terminator. Scream it. It's weird. They don't. I mean, they also don't reboot E.T. it would seem as though this guy Steven Spielberg may have some pull in the matter. But anyway, Giorgio Moroder, real quick, Giorgio Moroder's Metropolis is edited in a way in which it has subtitles over the scene instead of cut to title card for you to read. So it is very much more like watching a foreign film today, and it has a good flow in that kind of regard. So it is worth checking out. You'll probably not be able to find that version streaming. I think at one point it was. I think I saw like Giorgio Moroder's Metropolis, something like that, listed on like Netflix way back when Netflix was the only destination for movies and the only place to get TV shows was Hulu. The halcyon days when streaming was affordable and simple, right? I wore those 1904 style shoes in '84. I bet you got your ass kicked. I mean, isn't that probably what would happen, right? Teddy's name here, it's Teddy Belcher 4K Ultra Wide 21 by 9. I don't even know if you can get such a TV. Sounds a little ridiculous. What are you guys watching? Did you guys watch Axel F? I really wish they called that something else. You have 3 movies. You were sticking with was it Roman numerals, I believe? That kind of 2. Bad Boys 2 is Roman numerals also. And then both these films, they just go, screw it. It's been a while since we had a release. Change the nomenclature. I hate that. Oh, you're talking of the Terminator. There is a Terminator anime series, I guess, coming to Netflix. Anime, from what I can gather, from the brief what I've seen of, it doesn't look like anime in the style of Cowboy Bebop. It looks more like any number of the Warner Brothers Batman video animations. Like how you always see some of those come up and they just kind of look the same. And it's like we animated it in Flash or something. They're watering down some of these products, man. It's getting a little overexposed. Will you watch the new Deadpool movie? Mary, in theaters, I'm uncertain. Maybe I'll go take my mom to it and we can talk about it on the podcast. We dropped a new episode today. Even my mom has a podcast. My mom came back from her vacation, so we sat down and we did a pod, and I thought it was fun. So check that out. I'm sure I'll watch that Deadpool movie in some fashion. I'm actually, kind of bucking the trend in a way. I might be more inclined to watch it in theaters so I don't have to sign up for Disney Plus. And in the vein of how Disney would operate, oh, you didn't see this in theaters? Well, you can't buy the disc. Oh no, we lock stuff in the vault now. The digital vault. Yeah, so I'd rather not have to sign up for Disney Plus, right? It's a predator monitor ratio. By predator monitor ratio is Teddy's ultra wide 29. So is Predator the name of a gaming screen? I don't know. I'll check it out soon. Yeah, we could use some viewer, or hey, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, it's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We could use the star ratings on Spotify, but you can actually write a review out on Apple Podcasts. My mom will read the review on the show, but she hasn't actually had to read one since September. It's kind of been slow growth. That's kind of the way it is when you're not already famous or have some way to funnel viewers to you. Or listeners in this case, because she's not going to want to have to get dressed and put on the makeup for a podcast live stream or nothing. I just watched the new movie, Kind of Kindness. Man, I don't want to know more about that because I feel like that's going to be one of the movies where you want to go in as blind as possible, I'm thinking. I already know things are going to get freaky, but I think you would like it. I did like... and I would say like, not loved, Pretty Thing. Was it Pretty Things? Poor. Oh God, what was the name of it? Poor Little Things. Dirty. there's a Dirty Pretty Things, right? That's a French film. Wait, actually, or is it English? It's about there's a French immigrant and then there's like organ transfer stuff. It's actually pretty good. That's Dirty Pretty Things. Poor Things. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. I did like Poor Things, and this is like a bit of a reteam. But then you got that guy who's doing Kirsten. I can't remember if it's Kirsten or Kirsten. I think it's Kirsten. Kirstie Alley, Kirsten Dunst. Yeah. He's all up in her and he's weird looking, but I guess he's on Ozempic now, so it's okay. And then he's got scenes with Emma Stone, and I've already watched. It's pretty original, and you get to see, yep. Yeah, but here's the thing. Do you really want to see that much Emma Stone? Like, I got my fill for that in Poor Things, really. Are you boycotting theaters? It seems like you don't do a lot of movie reviews anymore. I, well, I kind of stopped in 2012. Like I was just in late 2011, I saw the writing on the wall. I watched back-to-back screenings of Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill and Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1, and it broke me. It was like a torture thing. And I was like, I can't keep reviewing this stuff. So then there's got to be an exit. And I think my new release, regular weekly movie review stuff kind of wrapped up with The Dark Knight Rises. And then I've infrequently have watched a few things here and there. I think in order to keep the movie review channel stuff going, you really do have to watch like at least two new release things a week now. But now there's other avenues in which this stuff comes to people, and people ignore the theaters, but they'll watch the new thing on Netflix. But you never can tell what it's going to be. Shoot, The Hitman seems like people were interested in that, but I've never had a review die like Axel F. Like, that died on the cross. Just post that and got it totally ignored. And I've never had that happen for a new release. So it was like, did people forget this movie was coming out? Was there really no interest in Eddie Murphy? Like, what was the case there? I'm not necessarily boycotting theaters. I don't think it's a great experience. I've got like a 55-inch OLED gaming monitor TV, and yeah, I can watch everything in 4K HDR. I don't need to have people harass me and overpay for popcorn. I make my own popcorn that's probably actually healthier. So I'm pretty much set, and I think a lot of other people are, and we don't need to go to the theater. Lockdown showed us what we need and what we don't need, and the theater is kind of one of those things we don't need, like NHL. So, yeah, we don't need to go to the theater. And what is it, the Bike Riders or something? Motorcycle gang? I think they're called the Bike Riders. Movie comes to like streaming like what, 2 weeks after premiere in theaters. It's like a record time, making it really seem irrelevant to go to theaters. Full stop. Am I right? I do need to wear a dark shirt for this because the text comes in and it's like in white, and there's no I don't even think there's a way to change that. I don't see a way to change how the text looks. Highlight saved to your channel as unlisted video. Oh, I saved a highlight by clicking that? Whatever. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of pointless to do the new release reviews, and the algorithm sets people up to be in an alley. It's like, hey, you watched a Star Wars thing? Here's a guy who only talks about Star Wars. We love that. Going to give you more of exactly what you watched one time. Who are these people watching this dreck? Because it's like, hey, I would kind of like to get some more information instead of just more Star Wars rumors and reactions to Star Wars trailers. Christ. I need to get it on a shirt, but I'm sure his widow wouldn't approve. Film criticism died with Roger Ebert. There you go. Because now everybody's a shill, because if you're not a shill, you're going to get locked out of your access. You won't be able to go see the movie and have the early review that people might care about simply because it beat others to the punch. And you have to say woke or sucks in the title or no one cares. I guess I should have said Axel F was woke, and then I would have got some points for that. Do you think season 4 of The Boys is the worst season so far? No, it's not the worst so far, and I'm losing my perception on what was here. 2 or 3 were pretty damn bad. And I'm trying to remember what exactly happened in 3. Because here's the problem. The show is about killing Homelander. Okay, but you have to stretch it over the 5 seasons. So what do? You find busy work for it's basically Tom and Jerry. Like, the cat can never catch the mouse or the show's over. So you end up rooting for Homelander only because the show has effectively rendered the heroes incompetent. They'll do stuff. Hey, we got a super weapon, Soldier Boy. He can kill Homelander. Oh no, he wants to kill Ryan too. Well, all right, I guess back to the drawing board. At least we haven't gone down that path. And not this week's episode, but the one before it was pretty fun with the Disney D25 or whatever they call it, skewing expo thing. So I thought that was all right. Why is Critical Drinker so successful? He is kind of boring to me with the sound bites. I'm glad you don't like the sound bites, and most people don't know that term or use it incorrectly. But yeah, all those clips he throws in, those cutaway J.K. Simmons laughing, all that stuff. Oh, I can smell shite. You know, all that. It's a guy, he's not funny, but he'll cut to things that signal laughing to the audience and they find it funny. And for some stupid reason, everybody that's trying to warm up to him, once you get popular enough, you kind of become LeBron James. Like, no one will question you, and no one wants to get on your bad side. Why would anybody question him? Like, okay, what do you got this guy, what's his name? Like Desyphilis or something? Distofero, like this one dumb kid who got aboard. He had no viewers, but he got to do one of his open bars or something like that, and now he gets to make all the same content all the other guys do. And how many people do you really need saying the same thing? No one's going to stand up to Critical Drinker. And he kind of just copied my shtick in way. Like, who had the first critical review of The Force Awakens? Me. So what does he do? Applies that formula to Captain Marvel, but keeps hammering it home. Just won't give up on Captain Marvel. And then you end up with more videos made about the Marvels than anybody watching the damn movie. I kind of was not expecting, but kind of thought it'd be hilarious if the Marvels was a hit, simply because of how much anti-hype it had going for it. Somehow got the name recognition flowing in a way that people are like, well, I guess we have to go see it. I would have found that hilarious. You know about astrology? No, but every girl is like into astrology and they're healing crystals now. When I first started hearing about this, 5 some years ago, it sounded stupid. Like, oh, this is an idiot. And then I realized all the girls are doing this shit. And I can't tell if maybe that I'm saying all the girls, it's like all the influencer type chicks are into their healing crystals, or who exactly in this case. It's just, look, the world just kind of keeps getting dumber. And that's the direction things go. If you had $10 million, what kind of TV series would you make? I don't think you can make any. Like, don't we always hear stories about these like massive budgets for a streaming series where it's like crazy expensive? Actually, you could make a sit down studio show at 10 million, but to actually have like a narrative thing, that you end up with so many other people that got to get paid and their union crap, extortion ring stuff. I'm gonna put on some Burt Bees. Not sponsored, should be, whatever. I bet you they're not banned enough. Yeah, 10 million. I'd like to see something like a Miami Vice, but you can't captivate people with TV the way you used to. And now it's looked down upon for them to catch the bad guy at the end of an hour. Why can't we have more of that? Why do I have to be so caught up on 2 dozen streaming shows that only drop new episodes over the course of what, like sometimes all at once? Netflix was big on that, right? Like the binge drop, but you have to wait 2 years between episodes. Who can remember those details with these like ongoing storylines? So, yeah, it kind of blows. In ways, it's kind of nice to be able to sit down and watch like an old Star Trek, and then, like you could binge some Star Trek. Hell, probably a lot of people have watched TNG out of sequence, or when they air it on MeTV, TOS, out of sequence. I'm sure, and it doesn't seem that jarring, because like uh, the status quo is kind of reaffirmed at the beginning and end of each episode. Well, we're back on the ship and we're going, and that's oh, next week we see these guys. That's about it, right? Okay, that time The Rock took off Darth Vader helmet and it was gold dust inside. It made my face light up. I don't think I saw that. There was a glitter stormtrooper helmet in WCW. I watched by, I guess, pirating on YouTube the Death of WCW that they were running in lieu of more episodes of The Dark Side of the Ring, which I find to be a really well put together. I guess it's kind of a documentary. I really like the way how they stage all the scenes, how they shoot it like out of focus, and you get like in the first episode, you have a guy that kind of looks like Macho Man Randy Savage, and there's smoke all over the place, and there's lights, and it doesn't look realistic, but it works really good for reenacting these scenes. So I watched the Death of WCW, and it was stupid how much The Rock's involved. Not that they really turned to him for interviews much, but it's like, why is he the producer of this? You didn't work there. Like, shit. In high school, I worked at a Kroger chain called Dillon's. I'm not in a documentary about Walmart. Like, the hell. And at least in that case, I can make the point I shopped at Walmart. What did he ever do with WCW? It doesn't. Oh, but we have to put Dwayne Johnson's name on it, and that might get people to watch. Christ. We need to have a whole stream about Dwayne Johnson not being a movie star. Like, when are other people going to realize this shit? The biggest movie star, they'll say of all time, but it's more like of right now. Name one good movie. Maybe Fast Five. Does he need to be in that for it to be good? Probably not. Shit, you probably could have got Dave Bautista. Okay. Will you do a review of House of the Dragons? No, because I I've seen only a small part of Game of Thrones, and I don't really feel inclined to watch more of it. It's not really my thing so much. I thought it was just kind of okay, but I felt the bones of a soap opera in there, like the monotonous intro music that shows like 80 faces. You're trying to, oh, hey, I remember that guy. I haven't seen him in 3 episodes. Oh, who's the main guy? There isn't one because you check in with them infrequently. I was just like, this ain't working for me, so I don't need to see more of it. Aaron Moriarty or Jessica Alba for marriage? Jessica Alba, not even debatable. Like, you're looking at like a peak 10 versus a peak 8. Like, and hell, most people don't even know who Aaron Moriarty is. At least Jessica Alba was famous at a time where people got famous. Okay, women follow trends. Nothing has ever changed. Daniel, yeah, that kind of seems to be the case here. Man, Daniel, what time is it for you? You're in Australia, right? So you you should probably be in bed. Like I don't really know how that correlates. Well, our TV broke, but it was stuck on Dr. Phil. Oh my God, I saw a commercial for Dr. Phil yesterday, and it's like, Hi, folks, 22 years season. We'll be right back. We'll keep it right here. But it's like, I was told like a year or two ago this thing was ending. And now we've got season 22. Hey, folks, we got the best episodes ever coming up. And we'll be right back. And it's like, it's funny to me how it's preloaded with people coming on the show trying to be famous now. Like at one point, my son, he doesn't do this, he has a drug problem. Well, how does that make you feel? Like that would be the thing. But then that cash you outside chick showed up, and ever since, you'll have girls out there like, oh, Dr. Phil, my son, he's a real doofwad. And it's like, okay, we got it. You have a catchphrase and you want to make some money. It's become the Jerry Springer show, and I don't think Dr. Phil realizes that, whereas Jerry Springer realized it, and it makes it kind of worse in a way. Yeah, it's kind of amazing we don't have more of that stuff, more of those type of shows. They're so cheap. You have people out there for free making the show, essentially. Death of WCW, or how no one wants to take accountability. So true. Hey, Daniel, I don't know if you do this, but I do frequently listen to Eric Bischoff's 83 Weeks podcast. There's a couple of reasons. One, I'm somewhat familiar with the subject because I did watch some WCW in like 1998. But there's something about it that really makes me fall asleep. Like I lay down and I got the soothing voice of this Conrad Fat Thompson guy who's Ric Flair's biggest fan to the point he even married one of his daughters, and Eric Bischoff, and I just shut down, and it's great. So I've been falling to sleep to episodes of that for like 2 or 3 years now. But yeah, about 2 years. I think that Eric Bischoff doesn't get enough credit for building up WCW because it is so easy to give him credit for destroying it. Things like the finger poke of doom, the inability to get finishes, everybody just rushes in and things don't matter. There certainly are advantages to the way things were done with booking in WWF at the time. But when I started getting on board, the tables were already swinging towards WWF. They seemed edgier, almost like in the way that you didn't want your mom seeing you watching it almost. The WCW was not edgy at all. It seemed a little more safe. But the things happening in the ring in WCW, you got the older guys just clocking each other. It was just, oh, and then Sting comes in and hit. Guy falls down. Hit. Randy Savage comes in. Whoever runs in, all they do is just punch, and that's about it. And WWF, everything looked way more realistic for sure. And in hindsight, you can really see why people were checking it out instead. And you had a very authentic personality in Stone Cold Steve Austin leading the way. So WCW, I do think though that Eric Bischoff, he doesn't, he like a lot of people played a part in the destruction, but I guess at the helm of it would be the people running AOL Time Warner, screwing the stuff up, wanting a more bureaucratic system, pinning all of their losses on WCW, moving the books around for tax purposes, and then saying, oh, we have to play things even safer now. Like you guys went edgy first, but we don't want you to be as edgy to keep up with WWF. Just a bunch of nonsense right there. Do you like the first Scream movie? Yes. Been a while since I've seen it. I guess I could do a commentary track on because I've watched it a few times. Recommended it to my mom and dad a few years ago and they hated it. Which I'm kind of surprised by because I thought they would have recognized at least Harry Winkler. Or Henry Winkler. Goddamn fireworks. I haven't seen Scream 2, but I've heard good things about it. I've seen Scream 4, 5, 6. I guess I haven't seen 3. Man, those last two are not good. And I guess, is the latest one even the worst? Maybe? Kind of hard to say. But yeah, I did like the first one. It was doing it was working at angles with the metafilm horror element, self-awareness, like before it really blew up and became the way everything has to be now. So yeah, I did like the first Scream movie. Hey, he was WCW champ when it was owned by WWE. He was he was. Oh, are you saying Ric Flair was? Ric Flair is the worst. Rundown was fun. I have not seen the Rundown, but I've heard people say that's Dwayne Johnson's best movie, which is a problem because how can you be the biggest movie star if your best movie is one that wasn't a huge hit and it was so long back? Like, was it 2003 or 2002 or 2003? I think it was 2003. And now he's the biggest. It really seems to me more like Kevin Hart has made the movie career of Dwayne Johnson. There, I said it. Does YouTube pay you good? Nope. That's why everybody has to ask for handouts. They're like, hey, pile on with the super chats and the memberships. And I can totally start to see how this is justified now because, and I'm going to have to drink something here. If you have memberships, then you have diehard fans. Like, hey, I've got money in this. It's not making me any money, but since I put money in this, I'm going to share that like button. Or share that like button. Smash the like button and hit share, notify, and whatever. You have to like rile up a base now. As we see in politics, the only people they care about are like the core base, right? And like the most vehement supporters. They're the only ones that care. The middle road. It used to be about how do you win over the middle. No one cares about that shit anymore, because the middle doesn't go out and protest for you for free, or harass people into voting for you. So now they just go, hey, we want like the people on the fringe, the people that are going to make the conspiracy videos. That's who we want. The people that won't shut up about our policy and our guy. So we've basically turned everything into a cult now. Yeah. Daniel, it's 11 a.m. Oh, okay. Saturday. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yep. Because it's Friday here, 8:16 p.m. Thrones is good. Bah. Cut it some slack. I think you tried to spell Vaughn there and autocorrect said, what are you doing? You can't spell his name, right? Here, go with Bah. Cut some slack for being the most bootlegged burned data in history and demand that, yeah, I guess people didn't want to pay for HBO at the time so much. Jessica Alba or Prime Emma Watson? Jessica Alba. Like, there probably isn't a celebrity that beats Prime Jessica Alba. That is no easy task. So Emma Watson never struck me as particularly appealing. Those Harry Potter movies, now I can't speak for the books, but I guess I'm going to have to do a better video explaining this, because I did one, but I didn't have all the clip examples, but everything is stolen from young Sherlock Holmes. Young Sherlock Holmes has it doesn't have star power, but it does have a star creative team, producers, crew, director, writer. So you'd think it'd be a known quantity. It had a very good looking the effects are really quite good. It had the first CGI creature in a film, and it didn't look that bad. It looked ready for prime time. Lost to history. Why is that? Because it was discovered that J.K. Rowling ripped off so much stuff from young Sherlock Holmes that you just can't get people to watch it. It's available on streaming services. I see it come up frequently, sometimes like free ones too, like Tubi or something, and people still can't check it out. It looks great too for a 1985 movie. It's one of those ones that looks like Back to the Future, like, hey, I can't believe this is as old as they say it is. But yeah, they just ripped off so much stuff, and then they said, hey, writer of that movie, Christopher Columbus, how about instead of suing us, we'll cut you a deal, you get to direct a couple of Harry Potter movies. Okay, deal. And I'm convinced that's what happened. because it is just wall to wall. Oh, that's just like Harry Potter, and look at the shape of his glasses, and look, he gets a mark on his head from fencing over here, and there's a flying contraption. Why are they friends with the groundskeeper? Why is there two boys and a girl? Yeah, so that's message retracted. Oh, I guess Mary was asking more questions about who was hot. I said Jessica Alba's probably going to win. Was that what that was? Pay for low quality copy and enjoy Game of Thrones. Pay for a low quality copy. What do you mean, like DVD? Is that what we're considering low quality? Because you could probably just straight up pirate, find Game of Thrones stuff. I don't want to have to pay 8 max for their premium picture crap at the rate they're going to want, for one. But I also don't really want to watch anything now that's not in the 4K with HDR. It's a bad cycle. Once you get all the good stuff, you go, oh, how could I ever watch that again? That's in 720p or something. That's the sort of way things go. The Diamond Cutter was bad. DDP killed. I kind of like the Diamond Cutter. I like DDP. He had a like slightly more authentic look than some of these guys, and I actually really liked how he was taped up. Like I don't know if it happened on more than one occasion, but he had like his ribs taped. That just seemed really authentic to me. But the Diamond Cutter looks like it could potentially hurt if done wrong, and therefore it's not the worst move I've ever seen. Isn't it basically an RKO? And it's kind of like, hey, I have a finisher that can be done almost anywhere. There's some advantage to that. We're supposed to be talking about movies, but okay, WCW. Well, movies and TV was kind of the thing that came up on the poll, right? So, movies, TV, streaming. Would you rather watch Twilight series or Star Wars sequels? You had to choose. Oh, Jesus. The Star Wars sequels are really bad. You could make this is a good debate topic, because what does the Twilight films ruin? I mean, they'll break your will to live, but beyond that, it's not like they're taking a dump on something you liked. Whereas Disney's Star Wars sequels, as you can see, relish the idea of just screwing over George Lucas's vision. So, man, that is a tough one. I don't know. It's a real pick your poison scenario right there. Ideally, neither. But I did rewatch those sequels for commentary tracks. So put those on, listen to them, fall asleep. It gets me watch time. Do that sometime. Simple truth is WCW died because of corporate politics. You're right. Bischoff doesn't get enough credit, and a lot of that is due to WWE propaganda. You're totally right, Daniel. WWE, by the letter of the law, who killed WCW is Vince McMahon, because he bought it and then it immediately shut it down. Therefore, how else? That's 100% true. But how does it fall into his hands? I don't blame Eric Bischoff. Now, he certainly had some trouble with Hulk Hogan, because it's like he's the crown jewel, and he spent way too much time being with Hulk Hogan really running a lot of things through Eric, not being able to say no to Hulk, and just ingratiating himself on him, and it just kind of ended up being like Hulk's thing, and that gets brought up in depth at WCW. So there are a lot of people who have a role in the demise, that's for sure. But I think that much of it, if you don't have the corporate politics, I don't think a lot of this happens. Now, maybe Hulk Hogan overstays his welcome, but there are worse things that could happen, right? Bringing in that guy who says bro all the time. I forgot his name, but you know who I'm talking about, Daniel. Also, what were they doing with Tori Wilson on WCW? I didn't realize until pretty recently that she was on there. I do remember Stacy Keibler being on WCW, but I don't recall Tori Wilson being there. Why did you have the hottest chicks and then like drop them? Like, how do you lose? I guess I don't fully understand that because Tori, I don't think she's really known particularly well until WWE days. So yeah, it seems kind of weird. And it was so. Does it also strike anybody as odd that how there was like no female wrestling? At least when I watched WCW, I can't for the life of me remember a women's match. And I don't think WWF had anything other than like super old ladies occasionally doing like a clown bit thing. And that was all women's wrestling. And now it's like, oh gosh, is it like 50-50 with the men's stuff now? I mean, they'll have an, I don't, have they done this again? Like an all women's pay per view. They call it premium live event now. Bunch of garbage. They don't ever announce an all men's pay per view, right? So there might actually be more women's wrestling than men's at this point. Could be. Sting's big splash in the corner. That never looked painful, but I used it a lot in WCW versus NWO The Revenge. I thought it was fun. I always thought Scream 4 was a little ahead of its time, taking on the rise of social. Scream 4 addresses like the reboot, right? Or the remake, and then they kind of act like Scream 5 is the first one to address it, which is weird because it's like, oh, we already talked about what could happen in the legacy sequel or the reboot. Now anybody can die. Like it wasn't too bad the way they mentioned that, and also Emma Roberts being like the villain was actually kind of surprising. So yeah, Jenna Ortega or Ariana Grande for marriage. Ugh. I would lean towards Jenna Ortega because she was actually like the best thing in the last couple of Scream movies. Ariana Grande has some okay songs, but she's been with that Pete Davidson. Is it Davis or Davison? Davidson. He's untalented and a loser, and no woman can say no to him. So, yeah, just the stink of him. New Nitro footage gets posted to YouTube this week. Pre-show footage. Like what? What do you mean? They're showing new Nitro stuff from WCW. Rundown was 2003. I figured. I knew it would. I knew it had to be when I was in high school. I know that much. Or I guess it probably released right after I graduated or something like that. They don't have new Raw footage from '98. We have new Nitro stuff now. That's peculiar. Maybe because the Raw footage is Vince McMahon being gropey. So that can't come out. And yeah, anything that would make WCW look bad is fair game, right? But you don't want to make the mothership look bad. So think about it like that. You know, it's BS. Cowboys versus Aliens bootleg DVDs. People want it. Looks like garbage. I saw Cowboys and Aliens in theaters and thought it was all right. Now, what could a cowboy do against aliens? Probably not a whole lot. What do you think is Dwayne Johnson's worst movie? I think it's probably Doom. Oh man, I haven't seen all this stuff. I know things like what the Game Plan and the Tooth Fairy. It seemed very weird that he was making such a pivot to the kindergarten cop side of things without establishing himself as a tough guy in the movies. It was almost like it was all built on what he was doing in wrestling. And then we can juxtapose that with the you have to watch the kids movie. That seemed kind of bizarre to me that was going for him. Actually, my light's not doing me any good over here, is it? Move it over here. No, it's still not doing much. Man, you know what? Some of those Fast and Furious are really damn awful. Like Hobbs and Shaw is backbreaking stupid. Hey, we gotta go to like, what do they say, Samoa? We got to go to Samoa so that we can introduce Roman Reigns into this series somehow, and there's a hacker over there, and then we'll okay, whatever. But the bad guys show up, and Idris Elba, he brings his bad guys, and they have hackable guns. Not that regular guns or like less lethal or some shit. But let's go attack the hacker with hackable guns and see how long this lasts. Shit. And you can kind of see how Dwayne Johnson, as like a movie producer, all this crap about his identity has to get involved. And it's always like, oh, we got to have scenes where we get to use our ancestor weapons. So how do we come up with that? I know their guns don't work. I saw Doom is not good. That is true. But I saw his Black Adam, and I thought it's it's just so thoroughly meh that you can't really say it's worse or the there seemed to be as bad stuff happening with Marvel, but Marvel had so much more backing, especially even just a couple years ago. It's just like, okay, you're not allowed to say anything bad about Marvel. Like all those critical drinker shills were out there trying to like deny that there was weird woke agendas in Marvel movies. It's like, yeah, so Captain America has this, whatever, and then we get the Captain Marvel, and we'll just look that one aside. But that's just Captain Marvel. No, but for the most part, the MCU has been immune to this, and it's like you can't start making excuses and say, well, we'll just exclude this one. Whenever you, and the stupid YouTubers do this shit a lot, they'll just throw out one example. Like that one doesn't count because it ruins my argument. Okay, so on the counterpoint, do you also throw out a bad apple over there too? Nope. So whenever they say, well, that was just, nope, screw you, you're wrong and you're dumb. Black Adam is just so thoroughly, we've seen this shit before. There's a Ant-Man, but he looks like Deadpool or something, and it's, you know, uh, I don't know what his worst movie is. He doesn't make his best movie is Fast Five, and it's not his movie. So I don't want a premium Harrison Ford old face. Old man face, premium. It's amazing how old Harrison Ford is and stuff. He's like as old as Axel Foley is in King of the Crystal Skull. That's like how old Harrison Ford is, or close to it, as Eddie Murphy is in the new Beverly Hills Cop. But shit's sake, I thought Harrison Ford looked older, right? What country would you always, what country you would always wanted to live in if you were a millionaire? I'd like to go to Australia. I think the girls have a cute voice. We're and also they largely speak English, so I wouldn't feel left out. But Japan could be interesting too. It'd be nice being taller than most people. Weirdly enough, I'm still the guy who can watch 380i. Hey, I know the feeling. Sometimes it's like, hey, this is the only way to get it, and it's that highly compressed potato version on YouTube. 380i, 480p, 720, 1080p, no issues. Oh, sure, I noticed the difference. Yeah. The weird thing about movies, you don't notice the quality after the fact when you're thinking about the movie. When you think about it, it's in, 4K with HDR. Okay. If Kristen Stewart asked for your hand in marriage, no. Would you rather watch Disney? Mary over here is always with these like hypothetical questions. Maybe that's what happens when you spring out the AMA title. Would you rather watch Disney Star Wars sequels or 50 Critical Drinker videos? Yeah, shit. Oh man, 50 of his videos might be whichever one takes less time. Man, I might go with the Disney Star Wars because it there is like a lot of incompetence and cronyism, but there is more effort in that stuff than hearing about shite and cutaways to not another teen movie and J.K. Simmons laughing for what would at least be 3 hours of J.K. Simmons laughing. So at least it wouldn't be as repetitive, if that makes sense. Hey, we're coming up on an hour. How much longer do you guys want to do this? I knew of Tori from WCW. She came in very late. Yeah, I've seen the clip where she gets slapped by Macho Man. That's probably the edgiest shit they ever did. Because really, when they were being edgy, it's felt so safe compared to the edgy of WWF at the time. And something about WWF's production, like it looked so smoky. It looked their camera was like so blurry and smoky and like almost documentary in a way. Maybe that heightened things and made it seem more realistic, whereas now it's so polished, everything's fake. It's mostly Billy Kidman, yeah, and Shane Douglas for a little bit. Absolutely sweetheart of a person, but yeah. But yeah, Tori and Stacy rose prominence in WWE. They had their fans in dying WCW days, but yeah. See, I do recall seeing Stacy Keibler in WCW, but not Tori. Not as I recall, though. But yeah, I think Rose promised WWE. Lowe's is going to have a Jenna Ortega Wednesday animatronic. I kind of want it. I've seen at Lowe's, I have one like a walk away from me where they do put up a lot of big Halloween decor and Christmas decor. What do you do with these animatronic things afterwards? Like, you put it out on your lawn, okay. Now you got to put it somewhere else. So now you have to rent storage. Like, do you want to do that? A lot of times I got to look at myself and just go, does this have a function in aiding me to create stuff? And if not, then I really have to question buying. Is Jenna Ortega a good actress? She seems all right, but is the busiest actress right now with 4 movies she's working on right now. What has made her an A-lister? I'm not sure. Like, it's hard. I had a video come out a while ago where it's like the last movie star, Dwayne Johnson, because who has receipts? Like, we want to make. You could actually say, oh, the girl with the eyes that are like over here, from Furiosa. What's her name? With the like super wide eyes. She actually has some receipts. She was in Split. That made some cash. The Mario movie, she does a voice in. That made $1 billion. But it's hard to justify calling people movie stars at this point. You have a gal who plays Harry Potter by the name of Wednesday Addams on Netflix. And now she's the biggest deal. Or for a bit, or something like that. It seems kind of criminal that she gets to slide into Beetlejuice because, oh, here's a girl who's already playing this part on Netflix. Now you're Lydia's daughter, right? And yes, I'm drinking blue raspberry Kool-Aid. Did you like the Jason Bourne movies? No. My problem with Jason Bourne is James Bond's incompetent American cousin. James Bond can save the world in one movie. Jason Bourne has to string together however many movies just to figure out what his name is. Oh, I hit my head and I forgot, but now I know. Now I remember everything. Bullshit. And someone should clip that. There we go. Up to the last 5 minutes of your stream. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll just drop that one day. I remember there was a channel that did release pre-taped WWE footage. It was actually amusing hearing JR get all sarcastic about having to hear Creed every time they played those My Sacr... Oh, geez. Oh, yeah. Those were the days, yeah. The Rock as Bambi on Saturday Night Live, but it's Final Fantasy VII. Weird skit. I do recall, before he blew up as a movie star, this was like Shoot, I almost think 1998. Was that like the first time Dwayne Johnson hosted Saturday Night Live? I'm pretty sure there was a Tracy Morgan malt liquor fake commercial in it that had me laughing. And he was like Mr. Peeper's dad or something, and they did a thing. I feel like it was 1998, but maybe it was 2002. I don't know. But Dwayne Johnson got over so well hosting Saturday Night Live. That probably had a huge part in his movie star status. Seriously. I don't think anyone has ever benefited more from hosting an episode of Saturday Night Live. Okay, what else do we got here? Well, the largest rock in America is under Cincinnati. It's called The Rock. It's half of America. Really? Didn't know that. Tectonic plate sort of stuff, or what are we? I'll be honest, I haven't watched anything Marvel related in years. Outside of Guardians, I just have no interest in the oversaturation. Totally understandable. I didn't like the second Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't like Rocket Raccoon. And the brand of humor doesn't really resonate with me, and the way how it's kind of infected the rest of the Marvel landscape, how everything has to be a joke now. But I probably wouldn't mind watching the third Guardians of the Galaxy. What do they call it? Just Volume 3? Brad Pitt in Montenegro 1988. If I was rich, I would be there. I saw a movie he made in the 80s called, shoot, I was talking to somebody about it just the other day who was mentioning something about Brad Pitt. Was it called like The Dark Side of the Sun? Something like that. It's like he has a rare skin issue. He can't be exposed to light, so he rides around in Italy with all black leather and has to wear his motorcycle helmet. And some girl likes him. What's missing in modern cinema today? Stakes. Everything feels readily rebootable. And part of the problem is everything happened to be a damn comic book movie. As the source material is outside of films, means whatever we do in the films doesn't matter. There isn't really canon for that stuff. Star Wars starts in movies. If Star Wars was comic books first, and then it built a fan base, then you could say, well, the story is actually over here, so we can just do whatever we want over in this area. So that's really, Stakes is probably the main thing missing. Jenna Ortega is better than Melissa Barrera. No kidding. On any Taylor Joy. Now that's a name. Yeah. Any Taylor Joy. She's kind of a movie star, but if she wouldn't Furiosa be a huge hit? I mean, movie stars, it doesn't matter what the movie is. People show up to see Julia Roberts. That's how you define a movie star. People only care about the damn properties now. And if they feel like the people behind them are taking advantage of the property, mismanaging it, whatever, then they lose interest pretty quick on it. So, yeah, I mean, I also want some credit for, and really, who was there with me at the beginning of, and I didn't see the movie in theaters, so maybe he beat me to it. Rambo Wrath for Life nailed it when it came to pointing out that Fury Road was dog shit. So, you're paying to watch a Mad Max movie, and it's really a Furiosa movie. It's a bait and switch. And Mad Max is just there to watch girls do cool stuff. And I would like to go further in saying that we were told this would be like some kind of prequel thing. And then instead, it's really a retcon reboot. Because it's like, oh, the Interceptor's back. Well, then why bring back the Interceptor if you're not going to use it? Or why not bring the dog back, too, while we're at it, right? Oh, but instead, he's going to have flashbacks to things that didn't happen in previous movies. So, what story were we telling with that horseshit film? Oh, yeah, here's a bunch of Oscars. For God's sake. So, yeah, Rambo Wrath for Life was real early money on calling it how it is with Fury Road. Any Taylor-Joy. I love that name. Speaking of that Beetlejuice sequel, is it really necessary? No. And how do you write out characters in a movie where ghosts happen? Like, how's Alec Baldwin not going to be in this? How is Jeffrey Jones? I'm assuming I didn't see the trailer. I started watching it and then I walked away. But I'm assuming we're starting with like Jeffrey Jones' funeral because he's like super canceled. So he's not going to be in the movie in a ghost or any fashion. Hey, are we going to get to 10 viewers? We got 9 viewers. This is pretty amazing. Shoot. Hey, we get to 10. We get a super chat here, and you guys are going to get some smoke machine action, okay? Oh, hey, yeah. Why am I not putting that on this? I mean, I got out my stand-up mic stand with the detachable shelf and to put my drink on. I didn't realize, hey, that'd be a good spot to put the smoke machine. Beetlejuice not necessary, but how weird is it that, and now we're down to 7 viewers. This summer, we're going to have 2 big movies, featuring sandworms. Dune 2 and Beetlejuice. Isn't that weird? Something kind of weird about that. And having said that, I will probably see it out of curiosity. Yeah, you would. You'll see whatever, Daniel, we know. Watch 1,000 critical drinker videos or Mary Scarlet. Oh, geez. Ugh. Ooh. Critical drinker it is. What's the... you know what the shame of it is that the text doesn't really show up here, does it? Or does it show up if you turn live feed on and you watch the video afterwards? You guys can see each other's text on the screen, right? But if you watch this after the fact, maybe you can't. I don't know. What's the worst horror movie you've ever seen, and what's the worst action movie? Jesus, it's so hard to say because the really bad stuff is really forgettable. Your brain is designed so that you don't relive trauma constantly, or we'd all be thinking about September 11, 2001 or something like that, right? The worst horror movie? Christ, that Terrifier, Jesus, that was bad. That's about, that's, I can think, I mean, look, there's a lot of like really schlocky B-movie 80s slasher things that are redundant, repetitive, foregone conclusions. They're not really a screenplay. There's a lot of those. Do those count? Because, I mean, hell, I guess they made it to theaters in some capacity. So it's better than mentioning some of the stuff from like the mid-2000s straight to video kind of stuff, right? Which, if you ever look back at some of that stuff, man, like the fashion kind of sticks out. The way the girls wear their hair, it's getting to where you can like kind of suss out the 2000s look on things. Or the early 2010s kind of look, yeah. And worst action movie, like both of them, they're really the different sides of the same coin. Like there's a schlocky formula to do the action also, where you know who the bad guy is and you know he's gonna get killed. And when I say that, it's like, oh, is he describing horror or an action film? Because it's almost the same thing when you think about it. To be honest, I was never an actor guy. I'm way more of a director guy. I showed up for the talent behind the camera more than the front, more than the talent in the front, says Daniel. I mean, you can do that, and sometimes it'll work out, but, in the case of the films nowadays, I'm not sure who's directing anything. It kind of seems like the stuff's made by a committee in a lot of ways, right? And if you're going to review things, you don't really have a choice on what you watch. You kind of have to roll with whatever's going to be the big hit that weekend in some capacity. Do sex scenes ruin movies, or are they necessary to R-rated movies? Probably ruin them in the sense of it's not something that really ever propels the plot along, or in super infrequent occasions, right? What happened to your podcast, The Hottie and the Jerk? New here. Annette is, we just kind of like stopped doing it. It just seemed like we didn't have any viewers. And she was real busy. I think on the second season of that, she was real busy. She's a local news anchor here in the city. And now she's on the morning show. And probably not supposed to say this, but they're firing her. And she is auditioning for like Good Morning America. But I don't know what's going to happen there or if there's any like opening at Good Morning America. But they're kind of letting her go because they let one of the guys go in the morning. And then they kind of say, I don't want that rattling around. Once they let one guy go on one of these morning programs like this, in this kind of market, they just go, screw it, clean house. We can get new people in cheaper, and it doesn't matter how good anybody reads the teleprompter. That's all you have to do. So if you can read the teleprompter and you're cheaper than the one we have, then you're in. And that's kind of the way that shit works. And I was getting kind of like, our show was talking about the new TV shows of the week. And the problem was, it should have just been a Walking Dead podcast because that was the only show people were watching back then. It was like the biggest show on basic cable or TV or whatever, okay? But we're talking about other things like The Big Bang Theory or infrequently jumping around, watching some of the new stuff that would also get canceled. So then why bother talking about it? Like, in hindsight, no one would go back and listen to any of that. But if you had a Walking Dead podcast, that show gains fans and then people would check out your podcast. So that's really, you have to be focused to do stuff. Focused and leech off of a brand and then you make it. So, and why you abandon old channels, you get burned out trying to make one type of video and then also demonetized. being demonetized, banned from monetization is another good reason. Please watch the Night Agent makeover. I do need to watch that. My folks like it. I know season 2 is coming at some point because we can't put anything together within a year at Netflix. We always have to wait 2 years or more. God, the Stranger Things kids are going to be like in their 30s and they're going to be like, wow, I just got out of high school. Yeah, to be fair. Oh, that's what TBF stands for. Yeah, to be fair, that I think. Yeah, I just put that together. It's the same as actors. The age of a tour is dying. Well, I think part of that is they don't want auteurs. They don't let people, with very few exceptions, under 40 direct movies anymore. And at one point, they were in their 20s letting guys direct movies. And now they say, well, the movies cost so much money, we can't possibly put $100, $200 million in the hands of a 30-year-old. Screw that shit. Find a 50-year-old to do this. So you end up with what we've got. I love your streams. You are very funny and very knowledgeable. If I lived in Kansas, I would buy you Chili's. Nice. I like how you said Chili's instead of Applebee's, even though Applebee's is the local chain. They established, I think, Overland Park. They're from Kansas, but everybody prefers Chili's here in Wichita. So, and that's not balancing very well. Maybe that's why I don't have that up here. Yeah, Chili's, I really like hadn't gotten their steak in a while, but I do like their loaded mashed potatoes. Do you watch the new Mr. and Mrs. Smith? I didn't even realize that was a thing. And it one of those things where it's like, okay, we'll do this again, but now it's going to be black people. I never watched the original, and I never watched the 2005 Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie thing, so wasn't really particularly interested in it. And it's kind of like, I think I saw a clip, like part of that 2005 one. And I was like, oh, well, they're not going to kill each other. They're going to have to team up and take on whoever told them to kill each other, right? Like one of these kind of things. I think I know what you're talking about though, and that's a streaming series, right? The Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing. And then at that end, it's kind of like predictable, isn't it? Am I wrong? Does that seem like a plot that would work for a TV show? Okay, at some point, quickly, they're going to realize each other are spies and then they're going to not kill each other, I'm guessing, right? The Asian actress was actually pretty decent. I think I know what you're talking about. I think I saw her in on the, I guess you could say, poster of other stuff I skipped over streaming. Yeah. Have you seen the Saw movies? I watched the original Saw, I think bootlegged in college shortly after it came out. Some guy was running in his room, and we thought that was pretty novel, you know? How, oh, the killer, he's kind of actually the dead body in the room. Spoilers, you guys already knew that. But I felt so bad for Danny Glover. I'm like, man, you're in big movies, you're in Lethal Weapon, and now you're in this like shot on video garbage looking shit over here, steering this car in a room that just has like a black like paper or cloth up here. I don't really want to touch that and get it dirty. Did I end up getting all this? I shouldn't have touched that. I just felt bad for Danny Glover. I was like, oh shit, man, this is like as low as it gets over here for you. But they kind of got better. Like Saw 2 looked a little more worthy of theatrical release. You know, that was only a year later. And honestly, I thought Saw 3 was the best of the group, but that was when I stopped watching. Was it Saw 3? I think it was. How he had like a doctor who was trying to operate on him. It was almost like a turn of the tables thing. Those movies got a little too far up their own ass with, yeah, but here's the big reveal moment. And it does like Christopher Nolan does a lot of this shit where it's like, hey, for the last 10 minutes, let's tell you what really happened. And it's like, okay, we get it. You think you're smart. Shit. Yeah. So that's the way how everything goes these days. Oh, what else are we saying here? Oh, hold on. We got a new voice here. Do you still think we will get MVC2 on Xbox? I am trying what I can. I'm going to try to reach out to this gal that was a contact for Xbox that sent me the review code for Hellblade 2. So that was only like a little over a month ago. So I could be like, hey, remember me? You know, I'm devastated that we're not getting the Marvel vs. Capcom Arcade Fighting Classics collection on, or is it Arcade Classics Fighting Collection, Arcade Fighting Collection Classics, or convoluted title. I'm really upset we're not getting that on Xbox. Can you please, give us any word on what's being done about this? Surely somebody has to make a move here. I'm assuming the ball is in Xbox court. Okay, fine. We'll support MT Framework. Just, we don't want to be left out. There you go. That's what needs to be said. At the same time, what the hell are we doing still making PS4 games? PS4 and Xbox One titles. Like, were you ever this deep into the Super Nintendo? What are we, like 4 years along? So you weren't buying like a NES game in 1996. Like, that shit got shut down in like 92 or 93 or something. I think it might have been 93. I think there was a Jurassic Park game on the NES. What is going on here? They're like, hey, there's so many PS4s out there. It's such a big base. We can't neglect it. God. Oh, new to here. Message retracted. What? Oh no. What? Why are we retracting messages? I actually just went back and watched True Lies on UHD. Oh, geez. I've heard that's a trip with the what they have some AI trying to clean it up and upscale it, making for Tom Arnold having like weird veins kind of coming out of his neck in a way. All kinds of crazy shit. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the stills I've seen of it, his face looks like quite porous and stuff. It's kind of off-putting. Talk about a very underwhelming transfer to 4K. It was like looking at the rubber CGI Annie from Terminator Salvation. Oh, Arnie, you mean? Yeah. Oh man, that movie's bad too. And please don't try to give that movie some kind of post retroactive flowers. You got guys trying to build it up now, like that Dave Cullen over here on YouTube. He was acting like it's now some kind of hidden masterpiece of the franchise. Bullshit. You have a T800 that's only concerned about throwing people because it's PG-13. How come we couldn't get the vision of the future scenes shown in the Terminator 2? Shit, even for a second, Terminator 3. Like, we knew what this was supposed to look like, and instead we didn't do it. Yeah. Yeah, that was 3. Matthew, what were we talking about over here? Okay, Saw 3. They were dead certain Saw was going to be straight to video release. I enjoy the franchise for what it was, but like all franchise horror, it gets progressively dumber. Yeah. I think I did see some of the later one. I think I might have watched a 4 or something. He had like a wife or whatever. It was the chick from Tomboy. And weirdly enough, the guy that plays Jigsaw, he his first role was in The Verdict. And I don't think he has a speaking role, but he's like in a jury room. He's in a courtroom seated next to Bruce Willis in his first role too. And they're both like extras. So has that going for him. Tobin, isn't his name Tobin? Oh God, well yeah, I think you know who I'm talking about here. Would you work at Netflix? The pay is 65K, I guess. I don't know what I would do for him. I mean, what can you do at Netflix other than keep greenlighting garbage? Because there's still a large audience playing PS4. There is. I have a friend from college I talk to on the phone all the time. He's got a PS4. If you don't upgrade your TV, and they keep making games that play on a PS4, there's not a lot of reason to move on, I guess, right? Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is literally my favorite game, and I am on Xbox for a really long time, but it won't get the MVC2. Xbox is done for me. I would literally turn all my Xbox. Yeah, I mean, the nail that it's not the nail that broke the camel's back. That would be an intriguing observation, but it's feeling to me like you screw this shit up over there at Xbox, and there may be no real recovery in sight. If you're going to say that we're just out of foolhardy spite not going to get retro collections going forward, then people are just going to turn to something else, right? Oh man, I thought I had plenty of life in this, and it's dying. Yeah, I use that light all the time, and I probably shouldn't. But yeah, we could probably actually switch that off. You wouldn't even notice any difference here. Barely. Yeah, I feel really bad over at Xbox. Halo's not been it's not been at the top of the food chain in the way that Mario is consistently the face of Nintendo. So with what is their identity at this point? I don't know. Who is the next Tom Cruise? There isn't one. We're Timothy Chalamet is like the closest thing we have at present to being a leading man movie star type guy. We're at 10 viewers, guys. We got 10 viewers. That means smoke. Smoke is happening. Hey, I don't make the rules. Here we go. Okay, that smells. Timothy Chalamet got a like 3-picture first look deal. Is something like that with, I think, Warner Brothers. No one gets that. That is like the last you really heard of anything like that was Adam Sandler with Netflix, where it's like, we're going to have a 6-picture deal. This number of deal pictures does not happen. They don't care. The stuff's expendable, all that. But instead, they're like, hey, you're the guy, and you just being in something might make it profitable. So Timothy Chalamet, who got his start on YouTube customizing Xbox controllers, which I don't have one nearby. Actually, maybe I do. Yep. He he would customize, and this is a elite, and it's grubby looking. He actually would like paint the controllers, and you could order a customized controller from. And he had a channel called something like Xbox Custom Controllers. Only made like a couple videos or something, but he sounds like a little kid in it, and it kind of like that guy from the Celtics who had a video. Hey, this is how to tie a tie. Like sort of things like that. It's interesting how with people's childhoods now being on the internet, those sort of things can come up. So in a way, theoretically, not that he's doing the same type of movies as Tom Cruise, which by the way, on the 3rd of July, I started watching Born on the 4th of July, which I know Tom Cruise is actually born on the 3rd of July, but I was on my exercise bike, so I watched it for like 45 minutes while I was cycling. And it was all right, but I was kind of like, whoa, because the young Tom Cruise in Born on the 4th of July looks exactly like me when I was about that age. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that kid looks familiar. I have a PS5 and I barely play anything on it outside of Tekken 8 Online. Daniel, I know, I see the clips. No, I hated Salvation and I still hate it now. Right on. Man, I could go back and forth on a lot of those Terminators, but look, I watched Terminator. What's the one with the cool shoes? Genesis. I watched that like within a day of watching Fury Road, and I prefer Terminator Genesis. At least it's got the star of the franchise. Where's Mel Gibson, right? Huh? At least I got Arnold Schwarzenegger in this one. There was somebody with the attention to detail to make sure that Nike brought back the Vandal High in the black and silver. Okay, I know there's a lot more going on in Fury Road, but it just felt like so much bullshit happening to try to give you some kind of the women are being tortured, the kids are going to be war dogs or some shit. Like, whatever. It felt boring. There was something innately boring about all the chasing. It was just like, can we just catch somebody already? Genesis did not feel nearly as repetitive. And it looked bad and schlocky, and I know it was directed by somebody that did something on Game of Thrones. That's probably why it was kind of crap. But I would take Terminator Genesis over Mad Max Fury Road. Or Terminator Salvation or Dark Fate for that matter. In Terminator 3 was some trash. So clearly, if you're talking about the Terminator franchise, you have to say there's only 2 movies, obviously. But I don't mind Genesis that much, I suppose. Who's the next Leonardo DiCaprio? Christ, probably Leonardo DiCaprio. He doesn't go away. And girls young enough to be my daughter are still swooning over him, all because he was in Titanic. Or maybe they really like Romeo and Juliet. I don't know. Did you watch The Devil's Advocate? Yes, I did. And did you like it? Nah, not really. And it's got Jeffrey Jones in it from Beetlejuice. Or, I mean, the first Beetlejuice, because there's no way in hell they're putting him in the sequel. I watched it last night, and it was pretty amazing. They don't make good stories. They don't make movies that look like that anymore, is what they do. Movies don't look like movies anymore. They kind of look like streaming series or a TV episode in some way. I thought Al Pacino was way over the top. He likes being a character of himself. Keanu Reeves was never the strongest actor, but he's still kind of doing his like naive guy thing. And his accent, his southern accent was coming and going so fast. It wasn't a good idea. Terminator 3 was better than Salvation, and Terminator 3 wasn't great. I mean, oh, jeez. There's a case to be made either way. And also, Christian Bale, I mean, okay, with the prestige of the first 2 Terminator films, now you have to take this serious, right? But then you have Terminator 3 comes along, And you know you're kind of making a joke thing. This isn't going to be like Oscar bait, but he wants to be like, "Why are you messing with the light over here? Cursing you out." Calm it down, my dude. Like it's Tobin Bale. See, I knew it was. I knew I was on the right track there. Did you already talk about Long Legs movie? I've seen that movie has an interesting marketing campaign. I saw somebody tweet something like it was the creepiest thing they ever saw, or like it was so disturbing, or something like this. And I'm like, Long Legs, it sounds familiar. Oh, it's not out yet. So is this a viral marketing tactic? But isn't it like a serial killer catch thing? And Nicolas Cage is the killer. Like that's from what I've heard. That's what that is. So only Tom Cruise can be Tom Cruise. He won't let anybody else. Mouse and keyboard people in South America and stuff can't afford PC games like Valorant. If they added mouse and keyboard to Xbox, it would boost. No, don't do that. Then you ruin it for the console experience is holding the controller. I don't need to be facing everybody who's using a mouse and keyboard and things. I hate it, and I know they've got ways around it, and it's cheating. What do you think of Alien Romulus? That comes out, is that later in July? Might consider seeing that. I it looks like it's going to be predictable and everything, but we might get more insight into the company, Wayland Utani, who seem to be almost like the last company standing. Like there aren't other companies in existence, or very few. There was a Sigsaw, I think they called it Sigson or something in Alien Isolation. So yeah, there are companies way behind them, I guess, in their Android tech and whatever. But it looks kind of intriguing, and I like the fact that there is practical effects, person in a suit, whatever, puppets, xenomorphs. So I don't care for the cast looking young. I thought part of the appeal, really, that people don't pick up on with Alien is that you have a crew of adults doing the scary movie thing. So they don't act like stupid kids, and that is part of what works for the franchise. And now we're going to go, oh, and they're kind of young and they want to escape the mining colony thing or whatever. It almost looks like teenagers going off to summer camp and running across Jason Voorhees. As the bones of it go, is that any different than this? Oh, hey, it's Labor Day weekend. Let's go to the camp. And hey, it's whatever spring break. Let's go to the space station and see the alien, and then get picked off one by one, right? I don't know. And that being a Disney movie essentially, but being on the 20th century banner, I'm assuming it'll come to Hulu at some point, but they're not very quick with that. Sometimes you have to wait a year plus. So maybe it wouldn't be that bad of an idea to see in theaters. I don't know. You guys let me know if you need me to see Alien Romulus. I think Modern Cinema is dying. Okay, said the same person who just asked if I should see that. So I'm guessing you're not seeing it either. I don't know. Agreed, Matthew. I would take T3 over Salvation Genesis, or the last one that I can't even remember. That was Dark Fate. I, to Dark Fate's credit, Arnold looked pretty good in it. Arnold looked better in Dark Fate than he did in Genesis. Maybe it was the beard thing, but it was working for him. And I actually really liked his performance in Dark Fate. Like that, how he was talking about like, what was he, hang drapes or something? You go to the little girl's room. No, she wants bright colors, rainbows, flowers, these sorts of things. It's like if a Terminator laid low in these circumstances like this, like can you kind of see an indie film Terminator where he fulfills the job and then just has to like adapt to society in an almost kind of like 70s movie type way, like a fish out of water premises deal? It would get Oscar nominations. Like seriously, they're probably going to have to go that route eventually. Did they ruin the Halo TV series? Can it be saved? First of all, it's a streaming series, not a TV. Get it right. Second, it can't be saved. It was ruined. They screwed up so much shit with the first season, and the second season, man, I'd hate to be in charge of a show after it got started. Impossible task. And it's a stupid thing to have to do the game adapt anyway, because you either have to follow the game verbatim, you know, and not give any surprises whatsoever. You just follow the template, use the game as your storyboard, or alienate the fans. Because when you do an adaptation, you're almost like at the mercy of the fans, instead of, in the case of George Lucas, he's making Star Wars. He didn't have to listen to no fans. What the hell? It's his vision, right? There aren't any fans until he says there's a movie. In the case of the Halo show, you're on riding the back of a property people care about. So it's on you to please the fans. They've gone to some changes on the show where they've tried to reduce the number of Spartans in a way where it is going to look like Master Chief kind of out on his own, and they're finally getting started with the first game. They screwed up the Fall of Reach thing. It didn't look to me like the place fell. It kind of looked like there was a small terrorist attack on a city. It doesn't mean abandon the whole planet. Too much goofy shit. The production value is so off, it's hard to take things seriously. Yeah, I at this point also, I haven't heard of an announcement of a third season, and even season 2 they weren't quick to say any more was coming. It wouldn't surprise me if they simply just said it wasn't happening anymore, like quietly. Kind of like how there's not a She-Hulk season 2. How you kind of repackage that as a like a mini series, so you don't have to say, "Oh, well, we didn't need an announcement," right? I haven't seen Terminator Genesis since it came out, so I'll take your word on. Well, I haven't seen it since it came out either. I think I watched it in 2015 or 16 or something like that. But last few Terminator films have all been absolutely forgettable. I am considering doing commentary tracks for the remainder of the Terminator films. I don't think I've done 3 yet, so I'll have to find it streaming somewhere. Genesis, I frequently would see show up on like Hulu or someplace, and Salvation, Dark Fate gets around. Do you watch anime or read manga? I don't read manga. I infrequently see some anime. There's some kind of new thing, like I don't know if it's a game, Zone of the Zenless, Zen Zoneless something. I think McDonald's has a cross promotion with it. I've been seeing it trending, thinking, what the hell's this? Am I just out of touch? But most of the modern anime stuff I don't check out. I did watch Zom 100, I think is it called? Like 100 Things to Do Before You Die During the Zombie Apocalypse. I watched that recently at the recommendation of a friend of mine who still has a PlayStation 4. What do you think was Bruce Willis's last good movie? His last movie is kind of like Glass, isn't it? Because other than Glass, isn't he doing, hey, may as well show up for a weekend to make $1 million in some kind of sketchy thing made in Russia? Like, that's the rest of his stuff. So his last movie is Glass, and that's not a bad way to go out. It was okay. What else? The trouble with Bruce Willis is, like, he gets kind of a bad rep. Like, people are like, other than Die Hard, he doesn't have any good movies. Oh, he doesn't? Well, he's in Pulp Fiction. Shit. And why do people retroactively act like Unbreakable and Christ, the I See Dead Kids movie or some shit, but the girl has to vomit? What is that? It was a big hit in '99. You know what I'm thinking of? Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. No. Yeah, he's in stuff people like. The Fifth Element, people like that, but they have to act like he's not in movies that are any good. Armageddon is underrated. Armageddon is underappreciated. That's a fun movie. It looks great. It looks better than a lot of crap that comes out now, and it was the biggest hit in 1998. Oh, but we have to act like Bruce Willis didn't have anything good other than Die Hard. Okay, sure. What else do we say here? Will you watch the new movie from the? No, God no, because it's got shit, that bitch. What's her name? Rachel uh, Brosnahan. I hate her. I don't remember what I did with the receipts, but we had a huge tiff over in DMs on Twitter, and she tried to ruin my reputation. So the best I can do is just try to get the word out. This hoe, don't watch anything with her in it. So sounds like a Critic sketch, the indie Terminator film. I mean, yeah, it does sound like an episode of The Critic. Like it'd be one of the things Sherman would have to watch, right? So he fulfills his job, and now what does he do? That's the elevator pitch. And it's like, well, what does he do? Does he walk into a cave and then just sit there? Maybe he does. Maybe you get a little bit of that termite art, very isolated, long pause, Wall-E type thing early on. And then something draws him out, and then he interacts with people or tries to blend in, for lack of a better term, and you almost end with like a Forrest Gump type thing where like the Terminator gets to witness history or some shit, but tries not to have much of an impact on it. And then by the end of it, the nukes go off, and that's almost like the happy success story, right? So like in a good movie, it'd be like, oh, the Forrest Gump and Jenny hold hands and they're happy or something. No, but the Terminator's like, he's got his sunglasses on, he's enjoying the nukes, right? There you go. Tia and I are having to adapt a daily grind. Maybe there's something there. There's something there. There's got to be. I'm going to see Alien Romulus, but there are too many movies that suck now. I would be shocked if Alien Romulus made, shit, what's a good figure these days? 40 million even? What's its budget? I'm assuming it's fairly low. Like that might be an under 100 million. It doesn't look like it has any stars they have to pay, right? But that would surprise me if it made much money at all. I don't know what the schedule is anymore. It used to be like August was the dumping ground of garbage. And then at some point, they extended the summer movie season to the point that it was like spring through August or some shit. And we didn't have a bad August. And that was only for like a year or two. And now it's hard to say that the movie theater is a year round thing. It's more like, hey, it's your birthday. Do you want to go to a movie? Fine. We'll see Avatar 2. And that's about it. Like, now it's more of a special occasion type thing. It's almost the amusement park that's available in every city. Hey, there's air conditioning and you get to watch essentially a ride. So I would be surprised if Alien Romulus made shit money at all. And that's like regardless of how good it may or may not be. Because when was the last time word of mouth was really that effective in getting people to like a movie so much? People would go for the brand they're told they like, right? I may or may not see that. I don't know. Would people be interested in me chiming in on it? I mean, I got to kind of weigh that because it's going to be a few hours of work for sure. Can James Gunn save DC? No. I mean, his track record is not that impressive to me. I have no idea why they decided this guy had to be in charge of DC Comics movies, redoing everything again. I don't get it. You talking about Bruce Willis here? He's retired from acting now because of dementia. The Sixth Sense. Why the shit couldn't I remember the name of that movie? That's a film I haven't seen in a while, but boy, did I like it when it came out, and I would suspect that I'd still like it because I wasn't stupid when it came out. So probably it probably looks better than a lot of garbage nowadays. Can The Witcher be saved even though Henry Cavill is gone? Will you watch season 4? I think I'm behind on that. Like, there's a I got a couple episodes into season 3, I think, and then just quit out of disinterest. And I'll say this about The Witcher. For whatever reason, everyone is acting like that Blood Origin was like the worst thing ever. How? I mean, it wasn't nearly as woke as the Drinker's Crew will tell you. A white guy gets to be the first Witcher, even though it looks like it's set up to run a different way. I mean, it didn't feel nearly as forced with the DEI crap as they'll lead you to believe. Although Michelle Yeoh will show up and do her Michelle Yeoh shit, you'd almost think that her appearance in that would make it somewhat bulletproof to criticism, but I guess not. I didn't think it was that bad, and it did a good job explaining the setting in a way the other Witcher stuff hasn't. So, yeah, I thought it was okay. I mean, not great, but okay. But The Witcher got off to a pretty strong start and then really coasted. It kind of lost me in season 2, and I tried to get back around season 3 and just couldn't really care. And didn't they release season 3 in the Stranger Things method where it's like season 3, part 1? Come back later for part 2, and I'm like, hell with it. Nah. I'm not expecting much of anything. In fact, they don't have any faith in it. Didn't they say they're wrapping it up after a season anyways with this lesser Hemsworth kid, right? Can The Witcher be saved even though Henry... Yeah, no. T800 falls in love. Gets a entry in. Gets it in. Huh? Did you think Anya Charlotte, whatever her name is hot? No, not really. And I do have a finite amount of battery in this iPhone 13 mini, guys, so we are going to have to wrap up in 14 or so minutes. We'll try to make this a 2-hour stream, but we probably want to shoot for less in the future because I gotta have my mic connected here, which you should hear that. And then I can't really run any kind of power to my phone. So, and you saw that light went out over there. T800 gets an entry-level job, falls in love, adopts a kid, beats up the kid's bully. That'll be a scene everybody loves, right? Grows sentience, starts to fight with his wife before it all... Look, we're describing a Terminator film that is not as good as Terminator 2, but would win an Oscar for Best Picture and shit. Like that's what we're describing right here. This is Oscar bait as a Terminator, like wrapped in a Terminator franchise. Full Kramer versus Kramer with explosives. Now you're probably going too far there. Maybe. That's your legacy sequel. Yeah. Unfortunately, what do? Do you deep fake in Arnold Schwarzenegger? Kind of need him it this way. Like he's very central to the franchise. He shouldn't be. I mean, he's on an assembly line of sorts and stuff, and he's not John Connor, but it kind of seems like you kind of need Arnold in it, doesn't you? Man, okay, to Dark Fate's credit, I don't know exactly what they did, but the beginning of that movie that takes place in, like, what did they say, 97, or it was 90... that sure looked a lot like Edward Furlong and Linda Hamilton and kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger enough. Was that deep fake stuff? Because they should probably do the deep fake stuff now more so than they try the anti-aging. The deep fake is way better. The anti-aging CGI is shit because you have the old actor out there with their puffed out face. The Irishman, for example. Robert De Niro never looked like that young. And by young, you could look at Heat, and he looked slim and different than he does as a young Robert De Niro in that shitty movie. So you're better off having someone with the right build, and then you apply Robert De Niro's face and have him do the voice, or let's AI do the voice too, whatever. You're better off doing that. It's going to be more convincing. Did you like the Batman? I did. The first movie was boring to me. Not enough fights. The first movie. I hear stuff about a sequel to the Batman, but it seems like they're kind of keeping it under wraps, which is good. Marvel over there, they're like, hey, let's tell you who all's in the movie and what character they play so that you can get your cosplay ready. At least DC is kind of respecting that. And I guess, does James Gunn get credit for the Batman and the Joker sequels or not? Because that's not part of the DC Extended Universe stuff. Or are they just calling it DC Universe? If it's outside the universe, does he not get credit? Because I kind of feel like that's where the Warner Brothers stuff works better, is not connected to each other. Is Pedro Pascal in too many movies? And he kind of is. He shit. Does he audition for everything? Like, hey, we're starting a streaming series. I'm there, right? He doesn't do a lot of movies, but it kind of seems like he does the same thing more than once, right? Isn't look, I'm not gonna play or watch The Last of Us. It sounds stupid, redundant, like late to the party. Oh hey, it's zombie stuff. Still, it's The Walking Dead, but with a different name, so maybe you'll care about it because it's on Max instead of AMC. The Mandalorian isn't that kind of the same shit? Like, hey, I gotta keep an eye on this kid, okay? Like, I don't know. We really need him to keep an eye on a kid. This is your guy. Did he do that on Game of Thrones? The Fantastic Four thing, I don't have any faith in. That is so readily rebootable. As soon as anything goes wrong, they'll just have a new cast anyway. And that chick from Dwayne Johnson's Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw, she doesn't do it for me. Jessica Alba all the way. Though Jessica Alba does not look like Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, yeah, Sue Storm. Yeah, so I don't have any faith in that. And Pedro Pascal doesn't look like Mr. Fantastic. I don't know why they couldn't have gotten Emily Blunt could go blonde, and then you'd have husband and wife, right, with the guy from The Office and The Quiet Place. And shit, let him direct it too, Save some money not having to pay somebody to do another job. Did E-celebs kill the movie star? Yeah, certainly played a role. I mean, like we're kind of bringing things back around to who killed WCW, aren't we? Because now people are so wrapped up in their own thing, they can't go watch somebody else for 2 hours at a time in that way. And if they do, they're gonna pause, second screen it. You gotta look. Oh, it's on, but I'm gonna post on Instagram in the mean. Oh, I guess I didn't catch it. Miss anything there. The killer's still off killing people in the woods. So they will greenlight things now because it's so good for second screen is the way they look at it, which sounds really stupid because it's like, as long as we can say we have data that people were watching this instead of a competitor, fine. But yeah, we've gone a long ways in making people famous for not acting in movies, to the point that now acting in the movies is old man stuff. Like, that's a boomer activity. Oh, you want to be a movie star? That's such a boomer job, right? When all I see is Haktua girl all over social media. And by the way, her name got revealed today. It's like Haley Welch, I think. I think that's it. Kind of tells you a lot about where we are as a culture and who we made famous. Granted, I know she's 5-minute fat. She does not have sustaining power. She's just somebody that said something funny on a man on a street bit. That stuff used to happen all the time, maybe not in the same like gross way that made her kind of viral famous, but you'd have funny people on the Tonight Show during the jaywalking segments, and we didn't immediately anoint them king of the internet. But now we do, because we decided that everybody has some kind of platform online. Your time doesn't have to fade. No, we found a way to milk it. I saw a video that came out with her yesterday saying, well, I don't actually have any merchandise, out there. And it's like, wow, people are making merch on her slogan, I guess, and but she's lawyering up, and now she has a management and all this other stuff. She seems kind of cute. She might have some fun things to say, but she's not learned enough to have anything compelling to make this last. She's the kind of person who would show up in like a Celebrity Apprentice or celebrity boxing sort of thing. Like, hey, remember that person? It's the gal who cut her husband's penis off. We're gonna have her fight Tanya Harding, right? So sort of thing like that. That used to be the pool in which this sort of talent would get drained. But now she'll probably be able to build enough. Now that you can own your fan base, like by having enough followers on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, X, whatever, threads. Now that you can, like, pull enough people together to keep these sort of things going, she may not fully disappear. She may be able to comfortably live doing nothing. I hate Marvel DC. Understandable. I was not, as a kid, I didn't really care about a Marvel versus DC thing. I was like, well, I like Batman, and I like the X-Men. Spider-Man's all right. Periphery Avengers I'm aware of. Superman okay. Otherwise, really didn't know a whole lot else about DC. I mean, I knew of the Flash. I mean, there's certain household names, right? Wonder Woman, but it's not like I read comic books of them. The comic books I read, not that I had many, it would be more likely to be Batman, X-Men, maybe Spider-Man sort of stuff. And that's really the limitation of that. Did you like the first Nightmare on Elm Street? Yes, I did. And did I do a commentary track for the? Oh, shit. I meant to, and then Netflix yanked it. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Because I was watching it again. Shit, it must have been over a month ago. And I was like, hey, Mom and Dad, they got this movie on Netflix you should watch. Nightmare on Elm Street. Not gonna tell you who's in it. My dad likes, no shit. Who's the guy that played her dad because he was in Enter the Dragon? And I'm like, it's got your boy in it, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. So, yeah, he would have gotten a kick out of that. But then they yanked it. So now, shit, you got to kind of wait for Elm Street to get back around, don't you? But I actually marathoned all the Elm Street movies. And I guess I'll go ahead and tell you what I got to say about that. Diminishing returns. The first one is by leaps and bounds the best, and they just, to their credit, they didn't make the same movie in the same way that the abysmal Friday the 13th films, you can't tell apart after a while. But the second film is very similar to the first. They try to have this undertone thing about, oh, he's in the closet about homosexuality, and they almost get too close to being on the nose about it, it almost seems. But at least it kind of had some scary vibe thing going. It's kind of the last time they tried to make Freddy Krueger scary, and he started to just kind of be more of a clown. John Saxon. Yeah. Saxon, yeah. That's the guy from Enter the Dragon who didn't get killed. Unlike Jim Kelly. So, the third film, there were some fun elements with the Dream Warrior thing, but then we redact that and just kill them off. And we got this other gal, and we're going to kind of make her the face of them. And it's funny because now her, shit, even her boyfriend who survived the previous movie, who had no personality or screen presence or seemingly acting talent, he gets killed off at the beginning of the next one. And you just kind of knew what Freddy was going to do. Oh, here's somebody who has alone time on camera. I guess they're getting killed in their sleep. It gets a little bit too redundant and predictable. And the fun way in which Freddy can kill somebody looks cheap. It is crap and terrible in a lot of ways, right? I'm on low power mode, so I actually got a little bit more time here. The phone's got 20% battery that still can go for a while. I switched to low power mode, but I'm assuming the stream still works. Though, shit, maybe it doesn't. I'll turn that off. Oh, yeah. Okay, you know what? I think low power mode might have kicked the camera down in resolution. I don't know. 137. Which one's... No, here's the problem. They didn't have Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare on Netflix. They had up to the girl, the swimming thing, but then they had the rather meta one from '94, New Nightmare, which is kind of interesting if you think about it as like a proto Scream in a way. It's not as good as Scream, but it's doing that kind of meta film thing before it was in vogue, and so you kind of see how that laid the groundwork for Scream. I'll give it that. So I thought that was in some way interesting, but again, a lot of the same redundant shit happens. It was kind of interesting how some of them they kind of expanded on the Freddy origin. His mom was a nun, and then she wandered around in an insane asylum and got raped, and that explains why he's a bad kid. Okay, so not really, but whatever you say, Nightmare on Elm Street. New Nightmare was for the H. What happened to the horror movies? They are no longer, they're not scary. Part of the problem, no one will tell you why horror movies are not scary anymore, but it's because of blood. At some point, blood was played for laughs way too many times, and now when you see a bunch of blood, you laugh. You don't get scared, you don't freak out. It's no longer the blood coming from the elevator in The Shining. Instead, it is something to laugh at, like in Terrifier. And so you end up with the same situation with action movies. A bunch of bullets flying and the kung fu kicking and stuff like that. You don't take it seriously anymore. Now it's for laughs. Things are getting played for laughs so much, it makes it impossible to take it seriously, even in a totally different film. New Nightmare was for the hardcore fans. Scream was for the majority. You're probably right. That's what yeah, that's not a bad take, Daniel. Sorry, I'm typing on my iPad. I keep hitting enter before okay, I can see that now. This thing isn't compatible on to type on the 12-inch. I don't have an iPad. One of the few Apple things I do not have. It probably wouldn't really help my productivity, so I probably don't need it so much. But then again, I got the watch, and which helps me not have to pull my phone out of my pocket to check things. So, all right, we're over an hour. We're past the 2-hour mark, guys. I think it's time we wrap this up before I say something racist. Thanks for checking in. We'll try to maybe do this next week. Do you guys want to make this a weekly thing? Will you do more live streams? Maybe once a week. We don't want to do this too often. You do it too often, it starts to oversaturate the market, water down the product and all that stuff. Yeah. Sounds good, right? I'm try to do something to get some guests to show up. It won't be anybody major, it won't be Jenna Ortega or anything like that. We might settle for Melissa Barrera. Yeah, I got to go to the gym. You hit that gym, Daniel. I'm proud of you. I honestly need to do some working out myself. It's been 3 days since I had a shower, so I'm definitely good for sitting on the exercise bike. May as well. I mean, you got to take a shower afterwards anyway, right? All right. Once a week is good. All right, you guys made this far. Wait until marriage counseling.